Hello girls. So now we are moving on to the next chapter, that is regulatory institutions. So we are done with the third chapter. Hope you have understood all the topics. Now we'll move on to the next chapter. So this chapter is all about your regulatory institutions. Now the topics that we have to see under this particular chapter includes introduction to RBI, organization, objectives of RBI, role and functions, the Securities Exchange Board of India, organization and objectives. So these are the topics that we are going to see under your fourth chapter. Okay, so this particular chapter is all about the regulatory institutions which are going to control the functioning of all the financial institutions. Alright, so most importantly we are going to see two topics, that is Reserve Bank of India and SEBI. So we are going to see various topics under these main topics, Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so let's see the first topic today. So let me first give you an introduction to regulatory institutions. So like I told you, regulatory institutions are those institutions which are trying to control the activities of financial institution to see to it that they are not going to involve or indulge in any kind of fraudulent activities. Alright, so there needs to be some set of rules and regulations that which has to be followed by all the financial institutions, because at the end of the day these financial institutions are dealing with the public money. So when they are dealing with the public money, they are supposed to be more careful and conscious and see to it the interest of these investors are protected and should not involve in or indulge in any kind of fraudulent activities. So there is basically a framework, okay, so that which is made. So what do you mean by a framework, or rather a boundary line that which is made, or rather certain do's and don'ts that which is made a mention, okay, in order to keep the activities of these financial institutions controlled. So for the purpose of controlling the activities of the financial institutions, there are two different types of regulatory institutions. One is your Reserve Bank of India and the other one is SEBI. Alright, so Reserve Bank of India is up to controlling the activities of all the commercial banks. Alright, so while SEBI is up to controlling the activities of various other kind of institutions like a stock market, stock brokers, agents, corporates and so on. Alright, so regulatory institutions are playing a vital role in regulating, rather framing rules and regulations, okay, for the various financial institutions to follow. Alright, so let's see what is the need for having regulation in our country for various financial institutions. So first one is economic growth. Okay, so in order to achieve economic growth, proper regulatory framework is needed for a country. Okay, so only when proper rules and regulations and a proper framework is set up, okay, everything will be done in a smooth way. Okay, the financial institutions will function in a smooth way. All right, so that becomes an essential requirement for any economy to grow. So only when all the your financial institutions run their activities smoothly without any kind of interruptions or without any kind of frauds and cheats, okay, so you would be able to attain that economic development that which is needed. Okay, so if at all this regulation is not there or rule is not there by the financial by the regulatory institutions, what will happen? Your economic growth will not happen. So your textbook clearly says that it will be derailed. Derailed means it will not move forward in that particular destination which is to meet the economic development of the country, attain the economic development of the country. The next one is promoting the savings and investment in the country. So another need for regulation is they promoting the savings and investment in the country. Okay, so only because there are regulatory institutions okay, to control the activities of the financial institutions, all these investors are trying to invest or save their money in the financial institutions. Imagine if there is no regulatory institutions, if there is no control on the activities, if there are no hard and fast rules, if there are no rules and regulations, what will happen? So only then, your customers will trust the institutions, and they will try to invest in the institutions. So besides putting the savings into investment, these regulatory institutions only help in the economic activities to take place without much difficulty. So the next point that we have to see is the need for regulation is provision of efficient financial services. Okay, so the financial institutions are able to provide efficient financial services only because of the regulatory institutions, only because there are a set of rules and regulations to follow. Okay, so they are able to provide their efficient financial services. Okay, so various institutions in a financial market are rendering various services, okay, to the customers, like the bankers, the credit card companies, the insurance companies, stockbrokers. So all of them are functioning on the basis of the regulatory framework. So according to whatever is the do and the don'ts that which is made a mention by the regulatory organizations, they are trying to regulate themselves. Apart from that, investor protection. So this is something which is very, very important. Okay, so one of the important need for your regulatory institution is for the investors interest to be protected. All right, so the regulations of many types of services, the regulations of many types are required to be put in place for safeguarding the interest of the investors, especially like small individual investors. So they want more of safety and security, isn't it? So middle class investors, okay, like will not want their money to be lost. Only when your high class investors with lots of financial stability will be able to invest and even lose their money in risk, okay, in uncertainties. But the middle class investors will not want to lose. After all, it's their only savings, and that's going to enable their livelihood. As a result of which, a lot of protection needs to be given for such kind of investors. So investors will trust the financial institutions and invest the money only when these kind of rules and regulations are there or followed or abided by the banks or financial institutions. Is that clear? So these are all the various requirements for a regulatory institution to be present, okay, in any economy for that matter. Now to continue with the next topic, we are going to see the Reserve Bank of India. So that was an introduction for regulatory institutions and the need for regulatory institutions. So next we will start off with the Reserve Bank of India. So in today's class, I'm only going to give you an introduction to Reserve Bank of India. From next class, we'll go in details with whatever is the functioning or whatever the objectives and role of your Reserve Bank of India. Alright, so to give you an introduction to Reserve Bank of India, the need for a central bank, okay, Reserve Bank of India is otherwise called as the central bank of the country. So the need for a central bank in India was felt in 19th century itself, okay, but then actually the importance was gained, okay, by this Reserve Bank of India or the central bank only in the beginning of 20th century. Alright, so earlier the functions of a central bank. Now what is basically the function of a central bank? It is nothing but to be the banker of the government, to control the credit in the economy. Okay, so today whatever is the function that which is performed by Reserve Bank of India is controller of the credit, okay, so bankers bank, government's bank. So all this earlier was done by the government itself and another bank called the Imperial Bank of India. Okay, so these two institutions, that is, one is the government, another one is the Imperial Bank of India. So they two itself were doing all the functions of the central bank. So government was maintaining all the functions of note issue and foreign exchange and all that. And the Imperial Bank was acting as a banker to the bank and banker to the government. But since Imperial Bank was not performing this function effectively and efficiently, that is when government felt that there is a need for a separate central bank to execute all the functions. Okay, so that's when in 1926 what happened was a commission was set up, okay, on the Indian currency and finance. Alright, so this was appointed with the leadership of Edward Hilton Young. Alright, so this particular person was made the head of this particular commission, and a particular commission was appointed in order to go through the problems, okay, of this particular financial institutions and the banks, and especially, okay, they were made to go and read in details the problems of rupees and the solutions for the same. Okay, so there was a book written by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and that came up with a solution and recommendation to have a central bank for the country. Alright, so in 1934, that is on the 8th of September, a new bill was introduced in the assembly, and which was also approved finally passed as the Reserve Bank of India Act. Okay, so the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, formally started its functions on the 1st of April 1935. So after this bill was passed in the assembly and it was accepted in the parliament, then this act, okay, came into existence, and this Reserve Bank of India came into existence. That was on the 1st of April 1935 on the April 1st. Alright, and in 1st January 1938, Reserve Bank of India issued their first currency note. Alright, so it took almost 3 years for Reserve Bank of India to come up with the notes, currency, okay, to be issued in India. Alright, so thus Reserve Bank of India was established with a view to secure the monetary stability, okay, of the country by means of controlling the other commercial banks in the country. Other than the purpose of controlling the credit, they were also established for various other purposes, like being the banker to the government, being the banker to the banks, and then also they wanted other activities, okay, like note issue activities. So all this to be done, okay, by the Reserve Bank of India. So that was the main purpose of establishing the Reserve Bank of India. So along with all this, they are also framing up, or making the rules and regulations and policies for all the financial institutions in the country to follow. Alright, now coming to the various other details of your Reserve Bank of India. So earlier, the headquarters of Reserve Bank of India, when it was initially established, it was in Calcutta. The headquarters was in Calcutta. Then later on, they permanently moved, okay, so the headquarters to Mumbai. So currently, the headquarters of Reserve Bank of India is at your Mumbai. Okay, so apart from that, I already spoke about the preamble, that is the purpose of establishing Reserve Bank of India. So like I told you, it is for maintaining the monetary stability in the country, to operate the currency, to issue currency notes, and also to maintain the credit in the country, okay, to be the banker's bank, to be the government's bank. I told you all these, isn't it? So for the purpose, the preamble is the purpose of existence of the of this particular institution. So apart from that, talking about the zonal offices, Reserve Bank of India is got 4 zonal offices. So one is in Mumbai, another one in Chennai, then in Kolkata, and in New Delhi. So apart from the zonal offices, there are 19 regional offices for Reserve Bank of India. So the regional offices are set up in various cities, namely Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Bhopal, Bhubaneswar, Chandigarh, Chennai, Delhi, Guwahati, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Jammu, Kanpur, Kolkata, Lucknow, Mumbai, Nagpur, Patna, and Trivandrum. Okay, so these are the places where the regional offices of Reserve Bank of India is set up. So have you all seen the Reserve Bank of India in Bangalore? Do you all recognize where Reserve Bank of India is in Bangalore? Alright, so if you don't know, Reserve Bank of India in Bangalore is in Nrupatunga Road. If you know, so this comes somewhere near your Vidhana Saudha, nearby Vidhana Saudha, not exactly near Vidhana Saudha. So the road, it is there on the Nrupatunga Road, right opposite to Martha's Hospital. Alright, so that is where your Reserve Bank of India in Bangalore is situated. Alright, so that is the regional office in Bangalore. Next one is sub offices. So apart from the regional offices, there are also certain sub offices, that is in Agastala, Dehradun, Gangtok, Kochi, Panaji, Raipur, Ranchi, Shimla and Srinagar. So these are the sub offices. Apart from that, there are 2 academic centers. This is for the training of the employees. Okay, so providing training for the employees. That is, one is Reserve Bank Staff College at Chennai. Another one is College of Agricultural Bank at Pune. So these are the 2 academic centers. Then there are also certain subsidiaries for Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so these are the subsidiaries of Reserve Bank of India. So one is your National Housing Bank. Okay, you would have heard of it. And then Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee, and then Credit Guarantee Corporation of India, so DICGC. This is also a subsidiary of Reserve Bank of India. Then Bharatiya Reserve Bank Note Mandram Private Limited. So this is the subsidiary again. So this is what to say, institution which is in charge of printing notes. Alright, so you cannot say that in every branch of Reserve Bank of India, in every regional office of Reserve Bank of India, there will be note printing. No, note printing happens only in Bharatiya Reserve Bank Note Mandram Private Limited. So these are the subsidiaries of Reserve Bank of India. So with this, girls, I will stop the topic for today's class. So I'll continue with the Reserve Bank of India and their other functions or role that which is played in the next class. Alright, thank you.